Okay, we're going to take a look at the game The Fall of Rome, which originally appeared in Strategy and Tactics magazine number 39, way back in 1973. So we're talking about a very old game indeed. Now I might point out that issue 39 had some good articles on The Fall of Rome too by Al Nofi, some good maps, some good information. So if you get your hands on the issue itself, it's quite worth reading, especially if you don't have time to read, let's say, Gibbon's Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. And here's a little portable, condensed version. Gibbon's work is about, one of these 20 volumes. It's a big work indeed. I've also got this Chronicle of the Roman Emperors, which is pretty good if you want a good overview of the Roman Empire. But this issue, number 39, is quite good for explaining the fall of the Roman Empire. Now that game was quite innovative for the time because it was a solitaire game, and there was very few solitaire games coming out at the time. I'd owned the game for years and years and years and never really played it. Eventually got rid of it. Okay, let's fast forward to the year 1996, and Strategy and Tactics, in their wisdom, decided to redo this game, actually reprint it, and it was under the auspices of Joe Miranda, who more or less took the original system, fine-tuned it a little bit, and gave us a much better board and nicer counters. And I kept this issue unpunched for decades too, well, since 1996. And I thought, well, it's about time I played this thing. I'd read a lot about it, got good reviews, and I thought, oh, let's give it a try. There's also some very good articles in here by Joe Miranda himself about the fall of Rome, some nice new color maps, and the issue alone is worth having. I might point out that the original game, the number 39 one, is still around on eBay, and people are selling it all the time, so it's not a rare game. But in a peculiar turn of events, the reprint issue from 1996, number 181, is actually more rare than the original one. I guess collectors are hanging on to it, and I'm glad I got it because it's commanding collector prices now, I see, on eBay and stuff. You don't see it come up very often, and when it does, it usually, well, is a pretty penny to purchase. Not saying that it's worth some of the prices that people are asking for it, but it looks like a pretty good game. And what I'm going to do is go through a turn, try a scenario here, and see how the game plays. So it's a nice looking game. I've always liked the map to the new edition, and the counters are quite nice too. I mentioned it is a solitary game, so the charts are all oriented the same way for the solitaire player. And you get a mess of counters showing all the legions of Rome, Rome's enemies, the Persians, and of course the barbarian hordes to the north. There's various scenarios in the game, but the one I'm going to try is the first one, Scenario A, 9 AD to 165 AD. Now I don't know if this is going to be the best scenario for showing off the game system, because that's the early days of the fall. The fall of the Roman Empire is usually dated to about 180 AD, about the time of the Emperor Commodus. That's when the decline really began. In this scenario, 9 AD, we're dealing with the events from the Battle of, and I probably won't say it right, the Teutoburgerwald. This is when Varus lost 4 legions up here in northern Germany. So, like I said, this may not be the best scenario for showing off the system. Basically, the player takes the role of the Roman emperor, trying to preserve the border of the empire, and he has to ward off barbarian hordes, perhaps Persian incursions, and of course internal civil war. That's what the game's all about. And what I'm going to do is just film each phase. The sequence of plays on the board here. It's quite detailed. We're going to go through that and just see how the game plays. Now, I will point out, I've never even played this game, So this will very much be a learning experience. We'll move some counters around, roll some dice, and just see what kind of game this is. I suspect the name of classic is deserved. It looks like a very good game, but I really can't comment as I have not really played it. So without further ado, we'll go through the sequence of play and see how it goes. I do not know how this video is going to work out. It might be an incredible mess. I have no idea. But even if it is a mess, at least you'll get an idea of what the game is all about. Okay, before we start, I'll just make a comment about the Persian setup. I'm not 100% clear if this is correct. I hope I'm doing it right. It says that the Persians set up their militia at full strength, which according to this chart is 15. And I believe the flip side of Roman militia is enemy militia, so I think that's correct. But I guess as I play I'll find out. Anyway, let's start the game, the sequence of play. Okay, it begins with the internal revolution phase, which seems fairly clear. The player rolls the die for the internal revolution probability table. If the result is yes, a second die is rolled for the internal revolution results table. So without further ado, I will roll a die and we'll see what the results of that is. Internal revolution phase. Okay, there's the internal revolution probability table, and so we're playing scenario A, which is 9 AD. We're on this table here. So only a 6 will result in an internal revolution. Like I said, we're playing a very early stage of the Roman Empire relative to the fall, and the chance of internal revolution is quite small. We roll the die, and we get a 4, so there's no internal revolution. So the next phase is the non-Roman movement phase. And this one seems like it's got 12 subphases to it, so I'll have to proceed with this one very carefully. Okay, already I'm not clear on a couple of things. Okay, we have the first one, which is the rebellious Roman legion movement. Well, currently I have no rebellious Roman legions, so we can skip that. Then it says here, Hun Barbarian movement segment. Now, I'm not sure which ones are the Huns, so I'll have to look that up to see what happens, because the next phase is the German Barbarian movement, and of course I do have some German barbarians on the board. I'm just not clear on the Huns here, so I'll look that up and then we'll proceed. Okay, as usual I'm going from a copy of the rules. I never like to yellow in the original, but I did find the rule. It says here there is no Hun Barbarian line on the Barbarian creation table. Hun Barbarians enter only as directed by the scenario. So in this scenario there will be no Huns. So I'll proceed with the German Barbarian movement, and let's see what the Germans can do. Okay, according to the rules, that means we'll be moving the Barbarians first. And since there are Romans in their home province, the Germans must try to move to the area where those Roman legions are. And they have to roll a die every time a group attempts to move. So this group of 10 barbarians will attempt to move there. And if we check the non-Roman force movement limitation on this chart, we can see if we roll a 1 or a 2, the units may not leave their area. So we'll roll a die and see what these guys get. We roll a 6, which means they can enter the area. Okay, these fellows will try to move into the area. They roll a die. They roll a 5. They also can move into the area. Okay, this fellow will try to move, and he'll have to roll twice because he's going into 2 areas. So we roll here for this area. He rolls a 2, so that ends his move. And we'll attempt this fellow. He'll roll. He rolls a 6, so he can proceed to this area. He's now going to try to join that barbarian horde. Rolls a die, and he rolls another 6. And he enters the area. Now we've got some barbarians way up there in Scythia and along the border here. I'll have to see what their movement priorities are, because their movement priorities are a little different because they're dealing with forces outside their home area. I'll have to look up the rule for that. Okay, basically the German movement is determined by the richest province, and if I'm doing this right, I believe that Thrace is the richest province closest to Dacia. So these barbarians, this barbarian horde, they're all in the same area, therefore they can be stacked. This barbarian horde will try to enter Thrace. And we'll roll the die. We get a 5, which means they can enter Thrace. And we'll roll this group. They roll a 3, which they can enter Adrianople. Now these guys way up in Scythia here, they're a long way from the front, but I'll determine the richest province and see what their options are. I should point out here that I'm just doing the basic game. There are some optional rules with leaders and fortifications. I'm just trying to learn the system, so I'm just going basic here. And for those of you who are not familiar with the game, the Roman units here are legions, M is militia, and of course these are just the barbarian hordes. And you identify groups by putting these little identifier counters on them, whether they be rebel or German, so and so. Like the Persians here, we've put a little Persian marker on. I suppose I should put a barbarian marker there on top of the barbarians. But let's determine what the Scythians are up to there. Well, even though this little wee province of Taurica is closer to the Scythians, it's not a very rich province. So I've determined that the closest province is actually Thrace again. So the Scythians will try to move towards Thrace. Okay, the result of that roll was that a mess of Scythians moved into Thrace. So we've got a heck of a lot of barbarians here attacking Thracian militia. And plus we've got that big battle up there, which of course historically resulted in the Teutoburg where the Roman legions were destroyed. So I think that's all barbarian movement. Although no, actually we've got movement up there in Great Britain. Let's see what they can do. Well, as it turned out, they rolled a 1, so those Picts are not going anywhere. So we've done all the barbarian movement, and the next phase seems to be the Scythian. Oh, which we should have done anyway. So there's even an order there which I missed. No matter, we still did it okay. Scythians, Dacians, Pictish, Tauricians, Desertus barbarians, independent state movement by number. Now I'll have to check that. Do I have any independent states? Okay, for this scenario I don't see any independent states, but there is this Roman state. Where is it now? Yeah, Britannia is a minor power. Not exactly sure what that means, minor power. I suspect it's a power that isn't allied to Rome, but is sort of independent. I'm not really clear on that. But anyway, it's irrelevant since the Picts failed their move anyway. So the last move here is the Persian movement segment, so I've got to see what the priorities for Persian movement are. Okay, since the Persians have already conquered Mesopotamia, their next priority seems to be Armenia. So we'll direct the Persian force to Armenia. And I'll have to check to see if they require a die roll too. I think they do. Let me just check on that. Yes, according to Rule 6.10, the Persians still have to roll. So we'll roll a die and see if the Persians can leave Mesopotamia and hit Armenia. They roll 5, which means they... Oh, I forgot, each nationality is different. So you have to check the Persian regulars here. They're pretty free, so it's only you get roll a 1 or 2 or real low. So the Persians do get to move. So this Persian horde here is invading Armenia. I think we're going to have some combat this turn. Now, rebelling militia, we don't have any. So it says non-Roman combat phase. Okay, each of the different non-Roman forces, must attack any loyal Roman force in the same area. Okay, so we're doing a big non-Roman combat phase. So let's do the big one up here first. We've got a mess of barbarians here attacking Roman legions in Germania. So I'll add up the factors and let's see how combat works. Okay, I've just placed a little marker in the square to indicate where the battle was. Might be a good idea in case you forget where it occurred. And these are the forces involved. It doesn't look too good for the Romans here. Of course, I'm not familiar with the table. But we've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 35 factors of barbarians against 3 Roman legions. This probably is not going to turn out too good. Let's take a look at the table. Okay, the combat results table, I think you figured it out. It's pretty basic. The legions are level A, so they'll be rolling across on this table here. The barbarians seem to be, let's see, C? Yeah, because barbarian raiders are B, but all others are C. Okay, so the barbarians are up on this table here. They've got a heck of a lot of men. So they're in the 35, so they're way up here. They'll be rolling in this table. And the poor old German Roman legions are down here on the 3 table. So it's going to be ugly. Let's do the Roman roll first and see what they inflict on the barbarians. They roll a 3, which indicates half D. Now let's see what that means. It says here 1/2 defender eliminated plus counterattack. Okay, now reading the rule, I think I did that wrong. It should be the attacker that rolls first, because that's why you would have this counterattack result. So I'll roll the barbarian roll first, as I should have in the first place. Roll a die, and they get a 3, and that says DE, which certainly isn't very good. That means the defender is completely eliminated. So we've recreated history, and that Varus has totally lost his legions there. Total victory for the Germans. Okay, I kind of figured that's what would happen. I could tell the setup wasn't too good there for the Romans. You get a bunch of Germans together attacking you in those kind of masses, and you're in trouble. Anyway, the next phase seems to be the barbarian creation phase. So we're going to roll the die to create new barbarian forces. These differ in number and nationality. So I'll look up those rules, we'll look up the table, and create some new barbarians. Okay, this is kind of cool. You roll on this barbarian creation table, but there are conditions as to how many times you do roll on it. And since we're in period code A, 9 AD, it says 1 roll every even-numbered game turn. Since we're doing turn 1, an odd turn, we will not be rolling for barbarian creation this turn. Neat little idea. And as you can see, as you get later on in the Empire, yikes, 4 rolls per game turn. That must be pretty ugly. Let's go on to the next phase. Whoa, I just realized I'm getting ahead of myself. We've got a lot of other battles to administer here along the front. These battles in Thrace and these battles in Armenia. So, forgot about that. That always happens when you're learning a game. And I have to check something in Illyricum here. We've got, I think, a rebel force. I just want to check the setup to make sure if that's correct. Yes, that is correct. We've got 6 rebelling militia here in Illyria. So we've got to resolve that battle too. And we've only got 2 Roman legions here. So this should be interesting. 2 Roman legions versus 6 militia. Sort of quality versus quantity. Let's take a look at the table and see how that works out. Okay, well, according to the rules, the militia does attack. So I'll look on the table here. We've got 6 strength points attacking on the C table. We'll roll a die, and they get a 5, which means nothing happens. And it doesn't say anything about a counterattack. I'm just going to have to check the rules on that. Okay, it says in the rules that there's the possibility of a counterattack, which is on the table. So I guess the rule is that the defender does not counterattack unless the table specifically says so. I suspect that there might be a combat phase where the Roman does attack. But for now, the rebelling Illyrians are still causing grief to that province. Now, we've got 2 potential battles here in Thrace. What do we have? We've got 6 barbarians versus 2 Roman legions. So, we'll roll on that. That's 6 again. C-class. They roll a 5, which we've already looked up, and is no result. So nothing happens here over in Signum. And over here at Adrianople, we've got a horde here. 26 barbarians versus 2 militia. Well, those guys are in bad trouble. So 26, roll on this 25 to 28 table, or roll a die. They get a 1, which just says DE. So this militia is wiped out at Adrianople. And we've got a battle here in Armenia. We've got 10 Persians, and we've got 4 militia and 1 legion. Now I'll have to check up the rules here. I suspect that you go with a majority of force, but since they're not attacking anyway, let's roll the Persian roll first, see what happens. Now Persian regulars roll on a little bit better table. They're on the B table, and they've got 10, so we'll roll, and they get a 1. Nice rolling there, Persians. And what do they get? Yikes, DE. Well, the Romans are wiped out in Armenia. So the empire under Augustus is a little busy in 9 AD. We've got major incursions in Armenia and way up in Germania. What's the next phase? Okay, it's the Persian replacement phase, but I'll have to look up the rule to see if the Persians are eligible for any replacements. Okay, according to the rules, the Persian replacements come on the board 5 turns after they are eliminated. Since I have no eliminated Persian units yet, I suspect that none are allocated. So the next phase is the loyal Roman combat phase. So loyal Roman units, militia and legions, may attack any one or combination of opposing forces in the same area. So I think we've only got one instance where that occurred, and that's over here in Thrace and over here in Illyria too. So we've got these 2 little Roman legions taking on 6 barbarians. Now remember, they are the attackers, so there will be a difference. They get to roll first. Let's see what happens if what 2 Roman legions can do. They roll a 2. They're on the A table. And it says 1/2 D with an asterisk, which means the defenders can counterattack after half are eliminated. So 3 of them are eliminated. That leaves 3 left to counterattack. So they're on the C table. Let's see what 3 can do. 3, they roll a 1, which is really good luck. And they get a 1/2 D, which destroys half of the legion. Now it also says they can counterattack. I don't remember anywhere in the rules saying that you can attack over and over, but I'm just going to obey the chart, which says you counterattack, so they will. And this 1 legion will roll. He rolls a 6, which finally ends the combat with a dot. There's no result. So the result of that combat in the end was that 3 barbarian hordes are left in there and 1 legion. Whoops, I got the wrong counter there. Shouldn't take one of those horsemen. That's a raiding counter. So we need a 2 barbarian unit there. All right. Now, is that all the combat? Yes, it is. Okay, the next phase is the Roman field army movement phase. Now, I currently don't have any Roman field armies on the board, so that's irrelevant. Then we've got Roman field army combat, also irrelevant. We have no armies. And then the Legion field army rebellion phase. This could be ugly. Player rolls a die for each area containing 4 or more Royal Roman legions. And I don't think I have an area where there's 4 legions. I'll just spot check the board, but I don't think so. No, the Roman legions are pretty well spread out, so I don't have any potential legions rebelling against Rome. So we can leave that phase. And we're left with the what? Control determination. The player determines which forces control an area. Persian and independent states forces which fill, okay, control. Well, No control has been lost by the Romans, I think, except for Armenia, which was kind of overrun, and Thrace might be contested. So I'll have to just check that and see if those areas are contested. I suspect they are. Okay, according to the conditions of control, the Romans have lost control of Thrace because they do not have 1/3 of the strength points in their original province. And they've certainly lost Armenia because they controlled it and now they don't control it at all. So they've lost control of 2 provinces there. Now, I'll mark that on this special sheet here. Someone called Robert left us, made a homemade sheet here for establishing control, put it on the Board Game Geek, and I'll use that for just marking the points. So I'll add up all the point scores of the provinces that Rome controls, and I'll put it on the chart, and we'll see what the Romans now control. Okay, if I've added up the victory points correctly, the Romans have 89 points, and checking the victory conditions for the scenario at the end, the Romans must have at least 95. So you can see that turn 1, you've got a game going because the Romans have lost territory and they have to gain it back. Let's see what the next phase is. Okay, the next phase is the non-Roman militia regeneration, and you'll be rolling there to raise new militia units up to the militia value of the province, of course, and they can't be overshadowed by Roman units in the vicinity. So I'll go over each province and see if any new militia units come onto the board. Now I might have done something wrong here. When I moved the Persians into Armenia to take it, no problem, they took it all right. But then how do you show that Mesopotamia was originally Persian? I seem to remember a rule saying that Persians can't drop off troops, so I'll have to look that up, see what the fate of Mesopotamia is. Well, I think I did the rule right, because it says Persians are more or less interested in getting Persia, Armenia, and Mesopotamia. So, and they're not allowed to leave garrisons. So the rule is that these provinces are now under Persian control, but the Persians have to react to any attempt to take Mesopotamia back. So I think you just have to remember that. There isn't any control markers to show that it's Persian, but I guess I could just put a Persian marker down there or something to show that it's Persian. Use an army marker or something. Anyway, we're looking at the non-Roman militia generation, and I think I've done it correctly. We've put the Persian militia on there because they've got Armenia. And now I'm not so clear about the Germania forces up there. They can hold up to 25, and I don't have any militia in there, so I'm not sure how we get German militia on. I'll have to look up the rule. I'm wondering now if I made an error in the setup, but it's very unclear. It says Scythia, Dacia, Germania, Pictum, all militia at full strength. Does that mean that I was not supposed to put on 25 factors of barbarians? Or was I supposed to put on 25 factors of militia flipped? Then when do the barbarian counters come on? I'm not clear on that at all. Let me just check the rules again. Okay, now I see what I did wrong, but it's not serious. You're only supposed to have 15 barbarian militia in C3. The rest are militia, so I'll just flip those to militia. It wouldn't have changed the battle any, so I'll just replace those militia, those barbarians with militia. Okay, that's all fixed now. Oh, actually there should be a militia unit down there too. Let me just correct that. Okay, that looks a bit more like it. Okay, I've put the non-Roman militia regeneration. Tax collection phase. The player collects taxes for the Romans and adds them to his treasury. Okay, and we'll do that. Okay, the Roman treasury starts at 10. So I'll add up the provincial tax value of the provinces they control, and we'll add it to the tax revenue. Okay, I've added up the tax revenue of the provinces they control, and the Romans now have 100 in the treasury. Okay, Then we have the Roman Expenditure phase. Now we'll have to look at the chart here to see what we can build. And based on the money the Romans have, I'll build some new units. Okay, consulting the Roman Treasury Expenditure tells you how much everything costs and what it costs to maintain them. So I had to spend a bunch of talents on maintaining the legions I had. I wanted to bring back the 3 I lost, so I spent some talents on those. And not being experienced with the game, I decided to build 1 field army. It cost me 12 talents. And they only come on in 3 game turns. And all you do is put them on the track to show you when you get those units. I decided not to build any other militia, which may be a mistake. I don't know. So I'm going to try to make do with the forces on the board. So that will end the Roman Expenditure phase. Now there's this Tribute phase, which is first the players remove all neutralized markers from the stacks. We don't have any. And flips all Federate units back to their active side. We don't have any. The player may then conduct tribute against enemy forces. Now, tribute is sort of buying off people, I think. And I don't think I'll offer that option to the Barbarians. I'm just going to try to combat them. And then we've got the game turn record phase, where all we do is advance the turn record to turn 2. So that's 1 full turn of the game, and that's all I'm going to do for this video. I'm just getting my feet wet here, learning the game, and I think perhaps this 9 AD scenario was a good scenario to start the game. I'm enjoying playing it, and it should be interesting to see whether I can contain these barbarians here or react to them and drive them out of Thrace. I don't know about Armenia. The Romans are thin on the ground, so I may have to build more forces to get this game going. It's a 10-turn game, scenario number 1, so you could be at it for a few hours for sure playing this game. So that's my final word on Fall of Rome, which appeared in issue 181 of Strategy and Tactics. And, you know, I've had this game lying fallow for, over 20 years, and I should have discovered it a lot sooner. I think it's a pretty good game. Anyway, thank you for watching.